will try and help others with a particular problem that I ran into, and it's also a great way to show some more ways that we can use Power Automate Desktop. So if you remember from an earlier webinar, we actually demonstrated the ways that we would start working with this thing called Power Automate Desktop. And so you can use this particular Power Automate Desktop to work with things on your actual computer or computers, because as you know, Power Automate Desktop, when you create one of these links or one of these flows, actually synchronizes through to the cloud, through to any other device that you install and sign in on your Power Automate Desktop. So here we are on my PC here, and you can see Power Automate Desktop, and there's been actually a couple of changes as of in the last couple of days or so. There is actually now an examples tab. So there's actually examples on how to use some of the automations that you can get with How to Automate Desktop. So I haven't started exploring because it's a really recent update. It updated overnight, but I'm sure if you get into it, you can actually see that there's some examples of, look at that. Take a screenshot of a web page, open a web page, get metadata. And add to that is what we're going to do today, which is you can actually program without programming to what we call scrape information from a web page. How does it work? Oh, it's actually quite simple. Let's take a web page. Let's take someone who has got some data that we need to actually get some sort of information off. I know. What we'll do is we'll take a good friend, Robert. He's got a long-running blog series. Been doing it for a long, long time. And on it, of course, you've got blog articles, a lot of them. But let's just say I wanted to create my own index of data from it. So what we can do is, let's just say maybe I want to take the heading and a link of each blog article on the site. Now I could just do the right mouse click thing, copy links, copy data, very tedious. And especially when you've got a long running blog series, as you can see from the archives, that goes back to 2007, right? Too hard to do manually. Let's see what Power Automate Desktop can do, and let's see the real power that Power Automate Desktop brings to this challenge. So what we can do is we can create a new flow, and what we can do is we'll just call it, I don't know, Robert blog scrape. And so what you can do is once you edit it, which is what we're going to do, which is going to bring it up for me shortly, is we can start getting a few things ready. And one of the things that Power Automate Desktop can do, a simple task, is we can start piecing it together. So let's go into the browser automation. Let's just say we're going to use whatever browser we intend to use for this exercise. Let's just say Chrome. Okay, so I'm just going to drag that very simply here into here, and here it already asked you questions. So we want to launch a new instance. Yes, let's launch a new instance of Chrome. And the initial URL I'm going to grab is Robert's blog URL. So copy that, paste that. Everything else is normal. I don't have to do anything else. So that's the first part. Now, here is where some of the magic is going to be from Power Automate Desktop. Power Automate Desktop has a special mode called a recording mode. It's up here. So what it can actually do is, if you're familiar with Microsoft Word, especially, for those aficionados, there was macros, which are basically little programs that you can do to work with things in, to shortcut things in Word. Well, they used to have a thing called a macro reporter, where it would actually watch, in quotation marks, watch you click on things and make some actions, and it'll actually track your actions and actually put it together as part of the macro. So this is a very similar thing with this recording mode. It will record the steps I do in whatever I'm doing. from when I'm going to open up the open up the Chrome to doing whatever. So I'm going to start the recording mode, of which it's going to start recording. And what I might do is I might just prepare my site in place, because it's going to follow what steps I'm going to do. So when I press the record button, I'm going to push on the record button and it's going to start steps. So for instance, if I do, you can see it's changed into recording mode because it's actually highlighting each element. So what I'm going to do here is I am literally going to grab the title here. This is because it's analyzed the page point, so page elements. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to extract the element. So in here, I can actually extract bits and pieces to do with just what is highlighted in the red. So I can get the text. So as you can see on the recorder, it's actually showing those steps and it's breaking it down. And what I'm going to do next is I'm going to also extract the href, or the URL that particular blog article is. So as you can see, it's changed that to extract data. Very simple. So what I can do is I can say that's it, that's what I want, but I actually want all my blog articles from this page. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to scroll down and repeat the same step on the next blog article, and this is why. So we're going to do this, same steps, extract the text, and then extract the href. And what you'll notice is when I can scroll down to the next article, it's in green, already highlighted and assumed what I want it to do. That I want this particular stuff in green. Okay. So that's what's going to happen. Now, this is a very long blog, and like with most blog pages, it is over a series of pages, like from 1 to a gazillion pages. So what I can also do is I can highlight one of the buttons that is used to take me back to the next page, and in this case, older posts. So what I can do is this. I can actually set this element as a pager. And that identifies to Power Automate Desktop that I can keep clicking that button to so-called turn a page. That's what I assume it to be when I started playing with this. So what this does is, in a few steps I've recorded, I have identified what I wanted and what I wanted to collect, and how to go further on into the website in order to continue the scraping of that information right until the last page. And that's all I need to do. It looks like it's added something extra here. So what I'm going to do is you can edit the steps on the go. You can also pause the steps. So you don't have to, if you want to scroll to a point, you don't want it to capture me scrolling through my website or whatever, and it will actually pause recording until you're in position, ready to do whatever you need to do next as a step. But this is a very simple two-step, or three-step little recording that we've done, and now I've finished. So what it's done is added my recording to this Power Automate flow. Now, I don't need to do this step because I already added this step manually in the initial stage. The reason we do that is sometimes it's easier to set the tone with a manual step when it's coming to like launch a new page and go into blog.ciapes.com, because I don't want to have to record that step even though I had to. Because sometimes I've seen it go wrong. In the times that I've been testing, so I've seen this go a bit wrong. So I rather take some of the pain away from actually doing this step. And all I really wanted was the step that I didn't want to have to code, the step I didn't have to work out how to try and do by piecing together individual elements here. And the recording simply took care of it. All right. So this is where we've done so far. We've opened Chrome and we want to extract the data, but we need to know where to put this data. So we're going to add a few more steps. And one of the steps is, well, we're going to be really simplistic here. We could add it to something like an Excel file. So all we have to do is open our Excel portion of Power Automate Desktop. And what we want to do is literally save Excel. Actually, there's one step I missed. So what we can do is go back into here and edit the steps. So what we can do is edit that step. And what we want it to do is, this looks okay, except for one thing. We want to, instead of store it into a variable, we want to store it in an Excel spreadsheet. I did forget that step. So what you can do is it's changed the variable name to Excel instance, very nice and friendly name. So what we do is that before we go and actually save it into Excel. And here it's called Excel instance, which is the variable name we just saw. And all we do is save the document as whatever we want it to do. So we'll just follow this. We'll go back and check it on my desktop, I think, and we'll call it Robert's blog links. Okay. Or scrape or whatever you want to do. Anyway, so in here, and I'm saved. And that's the actual end of the flow that we've created that will basically go through this entire blog site and get from it the different blog articles, then their name, titles, and their URLs. So we should really watch this in action once I've saved it. If in doubt, like with everything you do with Word and Excel, save often. But because it's such a small flow, I've chosen that. Well, it's a very simple 3 steps or 4 steps. We'll now save it. And now we are ready to go. So what we're going to do is I'm going to close all my instances of Chrome, ready to go. Oh, that's from Power Automate. And we're going to run the thing. So actually we can close that actually. Shouldn't have closed Power Automate. And there's the Power Automate ready to go. So let's watch this in action for a little bit. So what it's going to do is when I run it, we should actually stop. We should actually see that it's opening Chrome and it's going to go to Robert's blog and it's actually going to start moving through the entire site, picking up that information that we requested until the end of the site. And now you can see it in action. It's actually moving through. We'll watch it for a few seconds, but as you can see, it's going to go through and it's probably going to go through to the next page, which is what we wanted. But as you can see, this is the idea. It's going to do it behind the scenes. We can minimize get the Power Automate to do its work. Because it's such an extensive site, it did take a while to do this on another run through yesterday. So what it's going to do, it's going to create that Excel file. And so as you can see, it's just going to keep moving. Now, it's really exciting, I'm sure, but what we're going to do is I'm going to show you the results while that's moving behind the scenes of what we've done earlier. So this is a run that I did through a bit earlier, just to show you this is what you're going to get. You're going to get an Excel file that literally shows what we wanted. Title of the blog post, URL of the blog post. And as you can see, there's so many articles that I'm scrolling through all of it. Easy as that. So in the space of 10 minutes, we can set up something that would go and grab information from a website or scraped it. So if there's not any questions, I can tell. I'm sure that this is very exciting for those who are looking to see that Power Automate Desktop can not only scrape data from any website, whatever information you want, and even those Power Automate examples show you that we can do all sorts of things, not just with websites, but with documents you get, with any other information that comes to your desktop and you want to start working with it. Instead of an Excel file, I could have done all of these links into a SharePoint list. I could have put it into another Power Automate just to use that data with something else. There's a lot of extensibility with these sorts of capabilities that Power Automate Desktop gives to us. I know that one that you can also do is you can grab invoices and properly plonk them somewhere. For instance, if you tell it to manually get it from your Outlook, for example. But I'm sure that you can think of many, many different applications now that you're saying there's capability for your um, own solution.
So Yeoman, where Robert showed us how we could use APIs to connect to company data in, let's say, a SaaS CRM system, if there was a legacy system that had, and there was no sort of API availability to connect to the data, I could see how you could use this process that you've done to run through, let's say, a login into their site, go to a specific page, grab the data, and then save it as you did, either into Excel or into a SharePoint list or even into Dataverse, to then access the data. Would that be correct?
Yeah, if it's a legacy system that's only accessible through a desktop client, let's just say, I'm pretty sure that using those web the Power Automate recorder, you can see what you can and can't do with the recorder. So it will follow you and actually do things like help you log in or actually identify information to work with. I'm pretty sure.
Yep.
I would experiment. I think just the power in that recorder in itself, as I've just shown you, means that anyone who's known macro recording also knows that there's so much power just by not having to code it yourself, just to actually basically literally follow your steps and see what you can do. Absolutely.
And you've got that recorder running on a cloud PC, so it's not, so if it's sort of kicked off in the middle of the day, it wouldn't affect what you're doing on your local PC?
No, not whatsoever. So I could use this, and while that's running, I could go back into my my PC, kick up Power Automate Desktop, and start scraping another side. I could create more Power Automates as well. But the power of the recorder in itself, just to record the steps that you do, it blows me away when I started looking into this and how simple you can do something that we used to have to, this sort of particular subject, this particular thing I've shown you. Actually, there was a particular software you could buy that you could actually do this with, but it costs you money. It's Power Automate Desktop. It comes with your Power Automate license, virtually free.
Fantastic. And pre-installed on Windows 11, and there's a download availability for Windows 10. Does anyone else out there have any questions for Yeoman?
How many articles did I write, Yeoman?
A lot.
I know that, but you've got the spreadsheet there. Come on.
I worked out that it was something close to over 3,000 articles, right?
So that's right. Yeah, that's right. No, that's the right number. Yeah, that's correct. That's impressive. I like it.
That's a lot of articles, Robert. Well done.